Well, we're moving away from the coast now and travelling just a few kilometres inland to Clearystown. It's a small Wexford townland not too far from Consor Point. And it was here in 1972 that the late Frank Hall came to see steam threshing in operation on the Rochford farm.
On top of the mill, as it's called, or the thrasher, you must have 5 helpers. 2 people put in the sheaves and 2 cut the twine that is on the sheaves. And then as the grain comes down, you have 2 to 3 at the sacks. First, you cut it with the reaper and the binder, and you put it in stuck. You can stand up in a kind of they call it a stuck. And the element then, or the weather then, will season it out so much before you bring it in at all to put it in your rick. It could take maybe a month to 6 weeks out there seasoning in the stuff, in the weather, and in a straw as well. And it's all adding to its quality. The machine in itself takes very little upkeep. They were made so robust and strong, and the best of workmanship went into it. Only today, of course, the price of fuel, the price of coal has put them out of commission compared with the diesel engine. And besides the labour of drawing water to the boiler and the price of coal, it calls for a couple of extra men. It's a scarce commodity today. I wouldn't be able to give you the exact amount of water she'll use, but around 100 weight of coal per hour if you're working pretty hard, you know. She'll use water accordingly, you know, then. The harder she works, the more coal and the more water she'll use, naturally. In most cases, water is on tap, you see, and you can just pipe it to her. But it wasn't in those days when the engine was more in use. They had to carry it with a bucket, probably a long distance, which is a very tedious and boring job. It was mostly left to a chap. What's a chap? Small boy.
Magnificent. Well, since that footage was shot, unfortunately, John Rochford, the farmer that you've been saying, he has passed on. But the Rochford family are still working the land and still deeply immersed in the whole world of steam. And the little boy you saw in that film was Willie Rochford. So, Willie, the tradition carries on.
Yes, yeah, very much so.
And do you remember that day when Frank Hall was there?
I do. I vaguely remember it because there was so much excitement around the place. Yeah. And, of course, being off school added to a lot of the excitement. So, yeah, vaguely.
And sometime later, you were back on television again because the program maker, David Shaw Smith, he came.
Yes.
And did a hands program about craftsmanship and so on.
Back in 1981, they wanted to make a program about traditional house thatching. And of course, the thrashing set that we saw earlier on would have been used, and the reaper and binder would have been used for cutting corn, predating the modern combine.
In the Frank Hall film, I think your dad was making the point that you had moved out of steam, and he was quite proud of the fact that he had a diesel tractor.
Yes, and when I look at it's interesting to look back at the footage. That was such a modern shift from the 30s, 20s and 30s up onto the 50s, 60s and 70s to be in the diesel combustion engine, which is where we are now, but it's very much more modern.
And I suppose that quote-unquote modern diesel tractor
is
now pretty much an antique.
Is now an antique, yes. Yeah, very much.
And of course, the whole tradition of the thrashing day in the country was very special.
It was also a different working arrangement, because that time a lot of people moved from farm to farm to help one another out. So you had almost like a bartering system. They help you, you help them, and money was less exchanged. Not like modern business. There's very little of that interaction. But that time people just didn't have that disposable income to pay people for coming to work on the farm. So they helped one another out. So very different. And you needed a lot of labour, of course. I mean, you'll see with a modern combine harvester, it's got one man in the combine, one man in the tractor, and very sophisticated.
But there was a social aspect to it as well.
Of course, yes. There was it was always a tradition of the woman of the house, wherever you're trashing, to have a meal, and so everybody came in for dinner, and then of course no country place without a few drinks, a drop of whiskey, a few Guinness, and that all added to the social aspect.
And as a little kid, you were in that early footage with your cardboard steam engine, and you then went on to make a replica, a model steam engine for your kids.
Yeah, we made my brothers and I, we made a scaled model replica of an original steam engine, which is a working model, and really just as an opportunity for our kids to have some fun with it, because this is a little serious for them at this age, and also for the daddies to have a little bit of fun as well.
And those scenes evocative of rural life at another time bring our programme to a close this evening. Do